Welcome back to the Female Founded series. Today I'm joined once again by Ashley Suelyn. She is the founder of Wellness Omakase. Now, if you've been following Female Founded series since season 1, she was actually one of the first guests that I had on season 1. So if you are interested, make sure to go scroll down and go and listen to her first episode with me, okay? So this time, she's back here again on the podcast, and it's going to be more on her journey where she went from corporate life into sabbatical and actually starting a wellness brand herself. So let's go right on ahead and start with the podcast. Hi, Ashley. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Yasmin. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, so exciting to have you back because we're going to really dive deep into the Wellness Omakase part. But first, I want to start off with a question on really getting to know about that big decision that you had to make, right? Which is corporate life into a sabbatical. Can you take us back to that moment and maybe like what was going on in your life that made you say like, okay, I need a pause? And what did you discover at that point in that season in your life?
I would say a big part of that decision to leave my corporate job was due to a few reasons, actually. I think the universe sort of created an opportunity for me to rethink my decision in what I want from my 30s. So I was 33 when I left my corporate job, and up till that month that I quit my job, I still wasn't sure if that's the right decision to make because I've always wanted to be CEO by 35. I've always wanted to be a board of director by 40.
You had that planned out for you, right?
I had all of that planned out since I started my career in my 20s. And to give it up like that, at that point, to say I will take a year off, to just reimagine a life beyond being a CEO was really scary. But I think just that insurance behind my head was, well, if I take a year off, I can always come back, right? I think that created a lot of calm, a lot of reassurance for me to not need to commit everything at that point. So when I did it, my ex-company was actually restructuring. So they pivoted me from a head of strategy. They wanted me to do sales and business development. And that was something that in that industry I was not prepared to do. I was not excited about it. I felt like just with my role at that point of time, having been in an innovative kind of mindset, just kind of pivoting my whole mindset now to sales was not aligned with where my energy center was at. So I decided that I would take it one step at a time to leave my role. And I think within that month, I just decided that, okay, there's no way for me to come into terms with that new role. So I left within that month. And also,
do you think that change of role in the company, right? Did it make it slightly easier to take action and to take this decision of like, okay, you know what, I need a pause, I need a break, and really rethink?
Yeah. I was working very closely with my CEO at the time.
Yeah.
And my past 3 jobs as well, I was reporting to the CEO of the company and just kind of observing their lifestyle, having seen what they have to give up, some of the trade-offs they have to make. I start to wonder, like from this head of department position to that C-level, what are the trade-offs actually? And most of the trade-offs that come into picture was very much to do with fitness and wellness.
Interesting.
And that's the thing that I'm most passionate about.
Yeah.
That was my go-to like sanity check. And so I know for sure I can't give that up. And if I were to rise to the top and have to give up fitness and wellness, I don't know how I'm going to survive that C-level position, right? So I knew I don't want to have to compromise my fitness lifestyle and my wellness lifestyle. And just seeing my CEO did that multiple times as we both trained for a triathlon together. I had my own schedule to train, and when I check in on him daily, I'm like, how was your training going? And he's like, no, I had to give that up because I had a board of director meeting, so I slept late. And so I didn't manage to put my training in this time around. And so I went like, oh, okay. So I guess that's the trade-off that I'll need to make, if I rise to a C-level position.
Okay, great. And we'll touch base on that a little bit because I know that you found the formula and kind of like the solution to help like almost everyone to get into the wellness and recovery part of it, which we will touch base on. But for the next question, I think it's going to relate to a lot of women here, because being a stable job, like in a corporate job, right? I'm sure everybody like really strive for that. But like a lot of women that I've met also that are in that kind of job stream, right? They have this feeling of wanting something more, right? And what was that moment for you when you realized it was like, okay, I think it's time to step out and like do my own thing because this is what I truly want to do at the time, yeah.
Previous to that question that we just had, I think this will transition nicely to this question as well, is that the months leading up to me quitting, there were a lot of signs that my body gave me that I ignored, and I wrote them off as normal.
What was the sign?
Yeah, it's just part of like me being corporate, right? Me being successful and thriving. I was waking up in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. just crying. And at that point, my partner would be concerned. It's like, what's going on? Why are you crying? And I said, I don't know. Like, I should love my life. I think a lot of people would want to be where I'm at, having this side hustles, having this corporate job, being so close to my goal. And I was so goal focused. I was so goal orientated that process and journey was something that I wrote off. I didn't try to enjoy it. I merely was just going through the process to get to that end goal. And a lot of the things that I realized in my 20s, I don't really remember much about the process. It was just kind of like that checklist. I achieved this and I achieved that. And so much of my worth is based on what I have achieved.
Right.
Instead of aligning it into the process daily. And that's what I've discovered along the way as well. The first thing I did right after I quit my job was actually to attempt to climb Everest Base Camp. Mm-hmm. And when my Sherpa asked me, do you want to now go to EBC first, the base camp, or do you want to go to the other side of EBC where you get to see this beautiful, beautiful scenery and will come down from the EBC route, so you'll do EBC base camp second. And I looked at him wondering, like, that's like just the stupidest question, because obviously I came all the way here to climb the EBC base camp. I don't care about looking at something pretty first. Like, I want to achieve my goal first. Then, everything that's pretty can come later, can be secondary. And at that point, it was a very different version of Ashley, because she was just all about achieving, all about checking off her goals, all about achievement and matrix and KPI. I want to be able to come down and say that I've conquered the EBC base camp. But then coming down, I failed. And I sort of just shared that vulnerability to my audience on social media that I failed, like I tried, but the altitude sickness got the best of me and I was not able to make it. So I had to take the helicopter down. Just coming back down, a lot of crying, a lot of guilt, a lot of regret, a lot of disappointment, shame. It took me a few months to really, really process all of that emotions so I could forgive myself. And the one biggest lesson that I've learned from that EBC trip was that I don't want to be goal-oriented anymore. The goal is great. It helps you create momentum. It helps move things forward. But if I'm not able to enjoy the process or enjoy the journey once I achieve that goal, it's going to make me feel so empty. Right. It's going to be so meaningless for me.
So was that your aha moment and you were just like,
absolutely,
you know what? I need to do something about it. I need to step out of this goal-oriented mindset and go into more on like building the journey, enjoying the process and all that. So was that aha moment like, okay, I'm going to step out and do my own thing?
that was the switch that flipped, that made the Ashley that everyone knew became unrecognizable. I had that 180 switch when I came down and I said, guys, I'm gonna commit to living that slow, intentional life as that career breaker, micro retired person. I don't want to overload my nervous system by taking on too much now. And I want to be able to enjoy the moment, the journey, and the process instead of being so fixated on checking things off. And I think I became really unrecognizable, especially to people that has known me for the past decade, right? Because I used to be a very, very type A, very, very high energy, highly high-strung kind of person. But now I think I'm just being more conscientious that that's not the type of life that I want to live. And
what is the type of life you want to live at that moment when that switch was on?
For me, it's finding that sense of recalibration, because a lot of us, we're very masculine, we're very yang in our energy. And for the past 10 years, it's always just been that for me, the structure, the logic, the doing. And I've always felt like part of me that it's more feminine and more yin, more creative, was struggling to come out. There was no platform for it to be expressed. There's no platform for it to shine. So even in that past year, I've committed to so many creative things, like being a DJ. I decided to start writing songs, start to produce my own meditation tracks, things that I've always wanted to do, but want to incorporate. The maximum creative zone you can get into is probably just like strategizing like new diversification of revenue streams, right? So I was so happy that in my strategy role, I was able to be creative, but there was still a cap. There was still a limit. And so in the past year, as I traveled to like different countries and I had so many opportunities to have conversations with people, I wondered that, wow, have I really been living life the wrong way? I've been closing myself up to so many opportunities, to so many different ways of kind of discovering the world. I was so fixated on like corporate and climbing the corporate ladder that I closed off these sort of like new shifts in perspective.
Right. So Wellness Omakase was born based on this really specific experience that you've had, right? Because this is really important to like highlight, because every single successful businesses that I have learned about is that it has to come from a personal journey, right? And this is your personal journey, and that's amazing. So I love the name Wellness Omakase. Let's get into that, because I know that it feels very, when you created the branding and all that, when the first time that you showed to me, right, back then, it feels very intentional and very curated, right, based on like all the things that you went through and experienced, right? So what sparked the idea and how did you land on that name? Can you share with us a little bit more about that?
Definitely. I think the name Wellness Omakase came from actually my love for omakases. I think there was one point everyone was just kind of enjoying these different Japanese restaurants and enjoying omakase. And I always sat down, at the what do you call it? The stage.
Counter?
The counter where the chef will serve something and you are open to trying what he's placed in front of you. Whether you like it or not, you don't know yet, but you are willing to give it a shot, right? So I thought to myself, that's brilliant, because once I try it, then I'll have the actual frame of thought on what I like and what I don't like.
Yeah.
But a lot of people rule out what they don't like or like before they even try it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I want to adopt sort of that concept into wellness, because for the word omakase, what it really means literally, it just means that I'll leave the details up to you. So when we serve our wellness omakase experiences to our customers, it's really allowing for them to surrender and for them to trust us that this experience is well curated for them to explore, to experiment what works for them in that season of their life. And another thing about it is, when I was in my corporate job, I was actually a spin instructor. I also did my yoga instructing course in Bali. I enjoyed it so much so that I came back, I became a sound bath certified instructor, meditation, breathwork, etc. And now I've accumulated all these different modalities in helping people achieve that state of mind, that stillness. I decided that wouldn't it be great if everyone could just try a little bit of these different modalities in bite size without having to commit to like an hour of sound bath, which could sometimes be quite intimidating. Even, asking someone to attend a breath or meditation session for an hour could really just, make them feel like, this is not for me, I don't want to try it. There's a bit of a resistance there. So I want to remove those resistance. I want to remove those blocks and make it exciting. So when you make things bite-sized, you almost could trick your brain in thinking, yeah, I could do 5 minutes of that. I could do 10 minutes of that. Yeah, it's only 20 minutes. It's only 30 minutes. So before you know it, in that 2-hour Wellness Omakase experience, you've already explored so many different things. And I'm sure there'll be one thing that stood out for you that can be easily integrated into your lifestyle because you're excited about it.
Yeah.
And you want to continue feeling better when you do that one modality.
Right. So you often describe Wellness Omakase, your brand, as a trusted wellness provider and recovery partner. So in your word, what does that mean to you? Or like maybe you can share with us, why was it so important to position and brand Wellness Omakase in that manner?
So a lot of people, especially in a fast-moving world like ours, with capitalism, with a lot of expectations set, peer pressure, we tend to be very, very type A. We tend to be very energetic. We tend to want to prove ourselves, prove our worth by doing. And so we don't have to teach anyone to do more now. I think people are already signing up for competitions, pickleball, going to gym, working out, high rocks, doing more and biting off more than they can chew.
Yeah.
But what I see is lacking in the industry to complement that side of things, the performance side of things, is the recovery. So very little people emphasize on just being. I think resting is equally important as being productive. And people don't talk about this part of the narrative too much, the resting.
Think I agree with you because I think people look at it recovery in a way that is just sleep. But it's really more than that, right?
Absolutely. And resting can come in many shapes and forms, right? I think some people think they're resting, but they're not actually resting, especially if they're just watching Netflix or they're doom scrolling. And I say that because when you involve technology in your resting, sometimes, the blue light comes out of it. It actually increases your attention, your focus instead of resting it. And it also heightens your brain to try to make more decisions. Whether you have to like a post, not like a post, watch and understand what's going on in a TV show. So you might think you're resting your senses and you're resting your body, but you're actually putting your body through a lot more decision making. And that could just lead to a brain fog. Because now your brain is overloaded with a lot more decision making.
Yeah.
So when it comes to rest as well, sometimes it's not as easy as we say, just rest, right? You're at home, you're kind of sitting on your couch, you don't know what to do. And so with resting, it could look as simple as just breathing in deeply into your belly, some sort of belly breathing. Instead of just breathing from your chest level, you want to breathe into your belly. Just, reminding ourselves that this is actually how we came into this world. Like children, babies, they breathe deeply into their belly because they don't know how to feel fear or anxiety. But as we grow older as adults, we tend to just breathe a lot more from our chest because we face a lot of anxiety and fear and we're bracing ourselves every single day. So when it comes to being that trusted wellness provider and that recovery partner, it's wanting to create a safe space for people to be vulnerable, to be authentic, that they can express themselves. And if there are any emotions that are stored in their body, they can release it. And a lot of this Wellness Omakase experience is very intimate, it's very small. We allow people to share their stories. We want them to pause. We want them to introspect. And then we want them to share.
So that is what makes it different from any other wellness retreats or experiences, right? What else can you share in terms of something that would stand out for your brand?
Exactly. So when it comes to the wellness definition of things, there are a spectrum of things that people indulge in. Some could be really expensive equipment, right? Half a mil, doing different kinds of benefits, has been quoted by like NASA and astronauts and all that. I think those things are great. It serves a target audience that are really busy, that needs that quick fix. But what we need to understand from that quick fix is that we're not actually addressing the mindset. We're not actually addressing the root of the problem. And to address the root of the problem really, really goes down back to just being still.
Right.
To just clearing your thoughts. Acknowledging that those are thoughts, but then allowing for us to meditate and find more stillness in our being. And for me, something like the word retreat has been overused in a lot of cases, and it's often marketed as an escape, as a getaway. We recently launched a journal with anatomy by the title of Retreat. And what that journal is actually a 30-day self-care journal. And we want them to be reminded that you should actually retreat daily. Daily.
Because I know that a lot of people, they always look for retreats like maybe once a year or maybe like...
Exactly.
So like interesting for you to say that retreat should be happening daily for yourself.
And if you think about the word retreat, really, it just means taking a few steps back, retreating, right? Like soldiers charging for a war, but then they're like retreating, right? So likewise with yourself, you're going out there into the world, you're being corporate, you're an entrepreneur, you're doing the things you need to do to survive. But then what are you doing daily to retreat, to recover, to prepare for that next battle? Because sometimes for us, retreating needs to be consistent.
Yeah.
It needs to be done and practiced daily. It's like a muscle, and your body is only able to feel safe. Your nervous system is able to feel regulated when you're communicating to it daily. All right, this is how it feels, guys, when we breathe and we're able to release and let go, and we're able to face every stressor with grace. So a lot of times when we feel stress in our life, it compounds and it often becomes long-term stress.
Yeah, especially for entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
Because we don't shut off.
Long-term stress is the part that actually is very, very fatal because it leads to like illnesses, it leads to pain, right? Short-term stress, the stress that we put through ourselves daily to find purpose and find alignment, those stress is actually good for our immune system. So we do want to feel a little bit of stress. And with that, recalibration, we feel that stress and we recalibrate. That just means that we're able to come back to ourselves. We're able to understand what our needs are. And these practices are basically retreats. You're retreating, whether you're journaling, you're getting a massage, you're breathing in deeply for 3 minutes, you're meditating, you're signing up for a sound bath class, or you're just focusing on yourself through a yoga class or a HIIT workout, whatever that may look like, right? But retreating just means that you're taking a step back to take time to love and to care for yourself.
Amazing. Now, I want to cover a little bit more about your founder's journey and how you built this Wellness Omakase, because I know this is something like from what you've shared, right? Every single thing is so intentional, is so like really deeply thought kind of product, I would say, or offerings, right, for your clients. So let's go back to your founder's journey and also the lessons that you've learned. I'm sure there are lessons that kind of stuck to you when you were in corporate and you are actually making use of that lesson that you had that served you to today. Like, what is that?
When I moved from corporate to business, a lot of the things that I've transferred, surprisingly for me, is sales.
Really?
The thing that I actually was avoiding in corporate.
And now you actually
I'm
sales
doing
is the air, right?
For myself, right? And I say sales because like business development, you kind of have to pitch your product over and over again.
Every day.
And you cannot get bored from pitching it. And that product that you have in mind, that you are so committed to selling, you kind of have to be prepared to talk about it like 1,000 times
Yeah,
to like
100%.
1,000 people, right? Every single day. I talk about it like 3-4 times a day on the call with new people I meet, meetings I've set up, in this podcast. So you kind of have to be excited to be talking about it. So I think that's where I knew like the sales and BD role for me in corporate was not working because I was like not excited to talk about it.
Right.
But I've transferred that skill over. Another thing that I've transferred is, of course, structure. Corporate has given me a lot of structure and discipline, and I have often tried to emulate it into my life now. Of course, not in that 9 to 5 kind of sense, but I really appreciate my flexibility and freedom now. But structure in terms of having some sort of meetings, bringing team together, understanding how financial projections works. And that other one thing for me, like before I started this business as well, I created a financial projection of how all these revenue streams will look like before I commit to it. What are my resources? What are some of the expenses that I need to commit to? And having that spreadsheet out like really helped me reduce my anxiety because I knew what I was doing and the key things I need to be doing, drilling it down from my vision to my mission, the key activities that I need to do daily. So it actually helps remind me of the purpose and the objective of what Wellness Omakase is meant to be.
I love that because these are the things that's really important when you start a business, right? Like having that structure, really being clear with your messaging, your vision and your mission and all that. Like I think corporate plays a huge role as well to like just helping you get clear with what exactly is kind of like your path for this business. Amazing. Now for me, I'm so big on the idea of like building a business without actually feeling the burnout because like I believe that founders burnout is real. I've experienced it myself. You've seen it all. But for you, Ashley, like running a wellness brand, Wellness Omakase, also means that you're constantly holding space for others, which is your clients and your customers, right? For you, I really want to know, how do you personally make sure that you don't fall into that burnout yourself?
When I started Wellness Omakase, like introducing projects, introducing teams, I make it a point to create more wellness in my leadership. And what that looks like for me is allowing a timeline that is manageable for my team. So I want to try to avoid things like, okay, I need this like today, I need this like tomorrow, trying to instill this like fear or like, like urgency in my team members. It actually happened to me once last week. I brought a team together and I told them like, hey, we have a mall that's trying to sponsor us the space in their atrium, and it's the 3rd week of September. It's 3 weeks from now. We got to hustle. We got to get the quote. We got to find a supplier, our partners, sell the booths, get the customers, right? We did the meeting. And I realized at that point of time, I was loading a lot of stress onto my team. I was dysregulating everyone's nervous system. And I couldn't sleep that night. And I couldn't sleep for actually a few nights, thinking about it over and over in my head. I feel stress, my team feels stress, and I just knew it wasn't the right decision. And I realized that if that particular sponsorship, that particular event was meant to be, it will be at its right time, and I don't have to rush it, and I don't have to put my team through that kind of dysregulated nervous system. They don't sleep well, they're all nervous about it, everyone's feeling too stressed. So I decided to cancel all of that. And I just told them like, let's learn from this. I think the resources we found, the connection between the team members we found, and maybe that's all it is. Maybe that opportunity came for us to build the connections with our resources and with each other. And it didn't actually have to happen this time around.
Yeah.
So seeing that journey and process as the learning experience in itself was sufficient.
Yeah.
We don't actually have to have that experience, in that atrium to be executed to say, wow, good job us. So I think that's partly how I hold space for my team and for myself. And I make myself have a lot of intentional decision making by combining logic and intuition.
Yeah.
So my goal is to help people feel better. And if I myself cannot even make myself feel better,
How are you gonna help
am I
them?
gonna fill other people's cup and make them
Exactly.
feel better?
I totally agree with you because I think burnout really starts from just accumulating all this like pressure, all this urgency, right? Maybe we don't see it now, but eventually, maybe over the years, you would actually like kind of like pay the price, right? And I love the fact that you're aware of it. And I want to know because like with you running the wellness brand, right? I'm very curious because I can see that you have it all down when it comes to wellness and like regulating nervous system because it's really important for entrepreneurs and founders as well because we deal with a lot of pressure. Now for you, maybe you can share with us a little bit of like some of the practices that you do for yourself personally or the things that you swear by and can't live without. Could you share that with us?
You know, people would think that I'm doing like some crazy like biohacking practices because everyone's like, oh, we're like having dinner with Ashley, like, you know, we have to go somewhere healthy and we have to like, you know, be all healthy all the time. That's not it. Like the movie that I resonate most with is actually Eat, Pray, Love. Like the Julia Roberts character, if you guys go ahead and watch it, you know, it's not about just being like home all the time and being like all recalibrated and being still, but it's really just knowing what is the thing in life that it's sometimes worth being thrown off balance for. And then knowing that you can always come back to the balance and you know how to recalibrate and come back. So likewise, like, you know, some days when you're running a business, let's be real, I'm not going to have 8 hours of sleep every day. I'm not going to not feel stress and anxiety and fear. I'm going to feel all of that sometimes, but I know how to come back to my balance.
How do you come back to your balance?
So really, it's just some days I take my morning off. I do not wake up with an alarm because when you wake up with an alarm, like it just spikes your cortisol the moment you wake up. So I have allocate some days in a week where I don't wake up with an alarm. I wake up with the sun, absorb the sun, allow the sun to rejuvenate and help you manage your circadian rhythm. Always drink water in the morning. And I always intermittent fast. A lot of us tend to overeat because we want to hoard energy. And when I intermittent fast at least 12 hours before, so let's say my last meal is like 8 o'clock, I will try not to eat anything until 8 a.m. 12 hours is pretty good, but if you can push it to like 14, that promotes more cell healing, right? So your body is not too focused on just digesting food. Your body now has the time and energy to go to other spaces in your body to like heal. So just basic practices like that, and also meditating. So when I meditate, I get a lot of clarity in my head to just focus on what matters the most instead of just being influenced, being pulled right, left, center, like Ashley, you know, you should be doing this, that. At the end of the day, you want to receive information and knowledge from other people, external factors. You have your podcasts, you have your books, you have your mentors. And it's great to have perspective, but at the end of the day, when you meditate and you come back to yourself, you retreat, you come back to your own intuition and you know what's best for you.
Agree.
And I can't even tell you what's best for you. I can suggest to do this, that. But when you sit down with yourself, it's when you know yourself best. And I think when it comes to wellness as well, it's the same. A lot of people like to redefine wellness for you, that wellness should look this way. But it's really just creating safe space for you to come back to yourself.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that because the industry is a noisy place. There's always something new, something trending when it comes to wellness. But it's really about, I think the hardest one is to just sit down with yourself and not just get distracted with all these like trending things like you mentioned just now. All right, so I want to know, every single guest that come on this podcast, I always ask this question, right? And that's relatable to your personal journey as a founder. So for women listening who might still be in corporate or dreaming of starting their own thing for the longest time, right, Ashley? What advice would you give them?
I would say explore, experiment. You never know like what are the things you would get good at. you're so young. Even if you're like in your 60s or 70s, like you are so young. You have the room, you have the time to redefine yourself. Because look, like a lot changed in the last 500 days for me. I always thought I was going to be CEO and a board of director. But like, look at me now when someone asks me like, hi Ashley, like, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I'm like, oh, I'm a DJ, I'm a yoga instructor,
Yeah.
I'm a wellness entrepreneur, I'm a content creator.
Like you don't like put yourself in just one box, right?
Exactly. And to me, it's not even just about like being able to tell people what you do, but like every single day, like how can you make yourself feel better? And to me, it's just being grateful for experiences every single day that helps me learn. I think it's so enjoyable to learn things about yourself. When you discover things you're good at, you're like, wow, I never thought I'd be good at this. And then you are. And I think that's how Wellness Omakase started as well, because I started curating experiences for just my friends. I got my friends together to do a vision boarding class. I'm like, guys, I really want to do a manifesting vision board class workshop, you know, and my friends came together. They enjoyed the process and journey with me. And then they said, you know what? You're really good at this. And you seem very energetic and passionate when it comes to hosting.
Yeah.
So why not make a business out of that? And I tried a few more times and I realized even just with corporate settings, with entrepreneurs, it's just the same.
Yeah.
I gained so much energy out of it. And that's when I knew, okay, this is the right thing for me because I'm gaining energy over and over again. It seems like I should be losing energy because I'm giving so much and I'm holding space so much. But when I leave after a session, I feel so good about myself. I get so empowered to want to do more and to remind myself like the work that I do, it does create impact. You know, sometimes we get imposter syndrome, like, oh, maybe I didn't do a good job, like nobody felt anything. But then when you have one-on-one conversations with people, they're like, wow, that one sentence you said, like that moment like made me tear up, you know, and then it reminds me of the work that I do that, okay, I'm here for a purpose.
Great. Now looking forward, Ashley, what's next for Wellness Omakase? Can you share with us?
I think, again, when it comes to wellness, a lot of people are defining it as things that only busy people need to do, right? I think we've talked a lot about that yes, definitely corporate people need it, entrepreneurs need it. But I think what would be so amazing to watch is that wellness can be incorporated at every season of your life. And I say that with like children, with like high schoolers, people in university, even like retirees, right? I imagine like a wellness event where like 3 different generations would come together and participate. And I actually had the opportunity to see that last week. I was instructing yoga at Park Hyatt, and this 3, female figures came in. One's a daughter. She's probably 8 years old. And then the mother, who was probably like in her 40s. And then the grandmother, who's probably like in her 70s or 80s.
Wow.
And I had 3 of them in my yoga class. And just watching that, I felt like my manifesting, vision board is coming true. Because I want to make wellness experiences a family-friendly event. And why can't we do that? Why can't we empower, all generations to understand that breath is just a way of communicating with our body to help us feel safe, to understand our nervous system better. And so when I think about the next 3 to 5 years, I want to partner with like global brands. I want to partner with different location partners to bring these experiences to as many people as possible. Make it accessible in terms of price point. Make it inclusive, that no matter what target audience, they are able to enjoy it together. And I want to democratize it in a way where wellness shouldn't be defined in just one way. Like wellness should be defined for yourself. What does that look like? And we're just here to help you with that process of discovery.
I'm so excited for that. For the next 3 to 5 years, we'll come back and check on you, okay?
Yes.
I'm sure it's going to take less than those years, right? So because I know
Hopefully.
you make things happen. So Ashley, thank you so much for coming back on the Female Founded Series podcast and just sharing with us about your founder's journey on studying wellness omakase. Yeah, it's so inspiring, and honestly, it's so amazing to see how far you've come to from the years of knowing you, and I've seen so much growth in you. So amazing. So
Thank
proud of
you.
you. Now, for everyone that's listening, make sure you check out the links below, okay? I've put all the links on Ashley's Instagram, Wellness Omakase website, and all that. Make sure you check it out, all right? So, until then, ladies, stay inspired, keep dreaming big. I'm Yasmin Shahira, and I'll see you in the next episode.